That is the end of Unit 8. We're going to do one last overtime video. I want to sort of focus on the last thing I was talking about in those lectures, which was taking ownership over a problem, coming up with solutions to something that sort of feels like a nature of a problem we can't solve. America is sort of defined by a history of overcoming impossible challenges. So let's not think that this time is different. Let's think that we can actually solve some of our problems. I'll share my screen. I was sort of torn between using Claude or Perplexity. Here in the end, I showed off ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok even, and as well as Notebook LM repeatedly. So we're going to try Perplexity. Perplexity proposes to be something that's always pretty reliably accurate, almost akin to something like a Wikipedia, I believe. What are some of the major amendments to the Constitution not yet ratified, but popular among the citizenry? So this is interesting. So what maybe sort of stands a chance at making it into the Constitution? Not that the change we're talking about has to be constitutional, but that's the place we can look. There have been something like 11,000 plus constitutional amendments proposed. Some still hang around, like the Equal Rights Amendment, the Voting Rights Amendment, abolition of the Electoral College. It would take something like a constitutional amendment to do that, that's for sure. Congressional term limits. Term limits and gerrymandering are sort of two issues I'm sort of curious if we might see action in my lifetime or our lifetimes here. Let's explore this one a little bit. Let's dig into this. And this is not the only research tool, obviously, you can use. Not everything has to be AI generated. I actually toyed around with showing you the library website, learning how to use the library search tools too. Those are important. But this can be a really interesting place to get started to define those subject terms, those search terms, those books you want to look for in the library. Let's focus on specific term limit language and proposals that have gained ground in recent years. Let's just start there. Kind of curious if it'll give me some specific congressional representative name. Someone, when this is the issue, it's probably going to be something like the bill that just passed. Went through the Senate with 100-0 vote, the no tax on tips bill. I think it'll be very popular when it comes time. Okay, we've got Ted Cruz offering one from the Senate. We've got Ralph Norman in the House representing or bringing a joint resolution. Interesting. We've got some co-sponsors, and so this is the kind of thing you could call Congress and tell your representative in Congress to support and to be a co-sponsor of this bill. Interesting. Very cool. I'm sure this is one that comes up pretty repeatedly. They're proposing 3 full terms for, it looks like, the House and 2 full terms for the Senate. Interesting. So you'd be in office for quite a long time then. Interesting. We even have some quotes, and then I could continue, ask questions, follow up, have it generate a report. I think that functionality is in here too. And then even supply additional websites to go to the length, the actual text of these proposed constitutional amendments. Constitutional amendments are not the only place we can actually affect policy. We can pass laws. Presidents can issue executive orders. And there's other ways to influence what our government does and what it focuses on, not at the national level. Think about what you can do in a small scale with your community, with your neighborhood, with your school district to affect positive change. Not every change has to be massive, but every change helps. All right, that is it for the lectures. I'll see you in the learning management system.